Well, I'm coming to you on March 15th. Beware the Ides of March, particularly if you're Putin. Um, so, with my almost daily um, opinion piece on what's happening in the Ukraine. Before I start, I've been remiss in thanking all my subscribers, my students, and you know who you are, for subscribing. If you like the content of this YouTube channel, please subscribe to it. I very much appreciate the subscriptions and the kind comments. Well, oh, and by the way, yesterday I mentioned Emperor Wu of the Han Dynasty. Yes, this is the same emperor that was featured by Disney in Mulan. He was not a kind old gentleman portrayed there, but rather ruthless ruler in Han China. And again, he punished the military in favor of the Confucianist ideal of the scholar, gentleman, and imperial rule. But just to get to the situation on the battlefield, again, the Ukrainians are inflicting significant losses on the Russians. The Russians have shown incompetence, a lack of understanding of logistics. What I predicted back on February 25th, that the Russian military offensive would collapse, I think it's unfolding. In fact, in 10 days, they will run out of ammunition, food, manpower is significantly low. Their equipment has been destroyed or denied them in very, very large numbers. I would say almost prohibitively. And the attempt to surround Kyiv with its 330 mile perimeter, something that is larger than New York City with all the boroughs, with about 16,000 men, I think is just a disaster waiting to happen for the Russian military. They're not going to be able to surround Kyiv. They've exposed their lines that are being attacked, the supply lines that are being attacked by the Ukrainians. I think the Russians have lost. And in saying that, I expect, I mean, the Russians have about 10 days worth of ammunition and supplies. If a peace treaty is not negotiated within 10 days, or at least an agreement, the Russian military offensive will collapse. And I think that would lead to an immediate removal of Putin. So Putin has to find a way to negotiate a peace, and I think President Zelensky has opened the door by saying that Ukraine will not seek NATO membership, at least immediately, um, and may delay its entry into the EU. Um, I think Zelensky will require, if he agrees to that, he will require NATO guarantees as to, for the territorial integrity of the Ukraine, um, in exchange for his agreement. So in a way, it will be NATO membership without formal NATO membership. You won't have Article 5, which is, the attack on one is the attack on all, but you will have something very, very close to it. And I think from that point on, Ukraine will arm itself to the teeth. And I think most of Europe, which sees the Ukraine as a deterrent to Russia's expansionism, will funnel arms into Ukraine, and they will build a much more sizable military establishment. In addition to that, I think the Ukraine may recognize the de facto control of Crimea by the Russians. I don't think the separatist Russian pro-Russian republics in the East will be accorded that kind of recognition, but there may be some kind of de facto agreement not to attack it. I think that Putin's long-term objective of unifying Russian-speaking people in a new Russia is almost dead, if not, dead. He has failed miserably. He has destroyed the myth of Russian invincibility. Russia has shown its true colors, being incompetent, inefficient, and corrupt. I mean, most of the problems that the Russian military is now encountering have several causes, but one glaring cause is the fact of that the kleptocracy in Russia dominates funding and steals much of the funds earmarked for military improvements. So I think Russia is in no state to expand on its imperial ambitions. In fact, this has shown that Russia is really a giant with legs of clay. And I'm amused by some commentary that you hear on these talking talking head shows, where they're kind of discussing the possibility of Russia attacking NATO countries. That would be suicidal. Russia is in no condition to attack anybody. In fact, they will lose in the Ukraine. And I think the only possible salvation for Putin, and I don't think it's a permanent solution because I think he will be removed within 18 months. He will be retired to a dacha, and much as Khrushchev was retired by Brezhnev and Gromyko in 1964. But his immediate removal, I think, would be the result of having to surrender to Ukrainian forces. And if a peace treaty or an agreement, I hate to call it a peace treaty because it wouldn't be a peace treaty. The Ukrainians' hatred for the Russians is now generational. And as I said in one of my posts, if they attack Kyiv, which is considered by Russians the mother of Russian cities, and destroy that city, as they did in Aleppo and Grozny, which are totally different cases. If they do that to Kyiv, the hatred for Russia will be eternal. So I don't think that Putin has that as free a hand in destroying Kyiv as he did in Grozny or Aleppo. The historical conditions don't exist. The geopolitical conditions don't exist, and his time is running out. And he can't encircle that city, not with 15,000 men. Think about trying to encircle New York City with 15,000 men and kind of creating a vice where nothing gets through. It's impossible. He would need about 100,000 men to do that. And he would need to keep them there for a very long time because Kyiv is prepared to fight. Should he enter that city, the Russians will be slaughtered. And in fact, the Ukrainian battle cry, or at least the greeting that they've given the Russians, which is "Welcome to Ukraine, welcome to hell," has been coming true, but it would reach new heights in the street fighting in Kyiv. So I think the Russians have to find an off-ramp. I think they will do that within the next 2 weeks to forestall a wholesale Russian surrender to the Ukrainians. And of course, this is given the fact that, or at least expecting that the allies, the United States and NATO, will continue to funnel weapons and weapon systems, the Javelin, the S-300s, the supplies, the Stingers, all those weapon systems, if the U.S. and NATO keep supplying them, Ukraine will win. It will win either on the negotiating table, the way I mentioned, which would be somewhat of a reprieve for Putin, but it would not be a victory. Or it would win massively by having the Russians surrender after 2 weeks. If that happens, then Putin is gone almost immediately. Again, those are my views, so I leave you now.